In 1895, at the Whitmore estate in rural Massachusetts, photographer Samuel Ashford arrived to capture annual family portraits for what he believed would be a routine commission from one of Boston's prominent manufacturing families. What he discovered when he began arranging his subjects would challenge everything medical science understood about facial reconstruction surgery and leave experts questioning whether human identity could be physically transferred between individuals. This investigation began on June 14th, 1895, when Ashford first met the Whitmore family during the initial portrait consultation. According to records discovered only in 1963 in the basement archives of the Massachusetts General Hospital, this seemingly standard photographic commission would reveal surgical procedures so disturbing that federal medical authorities classified the findings at levels that remain restricted to this day. The Whitmore family consisted of 6 members: patriarch Edward Whitmore, age 52, whose textile manufacturing fortune had established the family's social prominence; his wife Margaret, age 48, their 3 adult children, Thomas, age 26, Catherine, age 24, and young Edward, age 19, and Edward's recently married wife Sarah, age 22. According to social records, the family had maintained relative privacy since 1892, declining most social invitations and limiting public appearances despite their considerable wealth. According to Samuel Ashford's photographic journal, preserved in the archives of the Boston Athenaeum, the Whitmore Commission had been arranged through written correspondence only, with the family requesting that all portrait work be conducted at their estate rather than in his studio. Ashford's detailed account of the June 14th session would later provide investigators with crucial evidence of what medical experts would classify as the most extensive surgical modification program ever documented in a single family unit. Ashford's journal entry for June 14th, 1895 reads, "Arrived at Whitmore Estate at 10 o'clock a.m. as arranged by post. Upon meeting the family, I was immediately struck by characteristics that gave me considerable pause. Each family member's face demonstrates extraordinary uniformity of features, similar bone structure, nearly identical eye placement, matching facial proportions that exceeds normal family resemblance. Most remarkable is the apparent surgical scarring visible along hairlines, behind ears, and at jaw angles on all 6 individuals." What made Ashford's notation significant was his professional observation of facial characteristics that suggested extensive surgical intervention. According to his detailed notes, having photographed Boston's elite families for more than 20 years, I have developed an eye for the subtle variations that distinguish individual faces, even within closely related family groups. The Whitmore family demonstrates facial uniformity that appears artificial rather than genetic, with surgical scarring patterns that suggest systematic modification rather than injury repair. But there was something about that June morning that Ashford found increasingly disturbing as he studied his subjects. According to his confidential notes, discovered decades later, the family members' faces appear to have been constructed rather than inherited. Each countenance demonstrates surgical precision in feature placement that suggests deliberate design. Most troubling is the apparent source of facial tissues. The skin tones, tissue textures, and cellular characteristics appear inconsistent across different facial regions on each individual, as if their faces have been assembled from multiple biological sources. The investigation into the Whitmore family portraits began in 1963, when Dr. Patricia Morrison of Massachusetts General Hospital was conducting research into historical plastic surgery techniques. According to her case files, preserved in the hospital archives, Dr. Morrison's analysis of the 1895 Whitmore photographs revealed surgical characteristics that challenge fundamental understanding of 19th century medical capabilities. Dr. Morrison's initial examination of the Whitmore photographs was part of her comprehensive study documenting the evolution of reconstructive surgery. According to her research notes, the Whitmore family portraits initially appeared to document typical Victorian family resemblance. However, enhanced photographic analysis revealed surgical modification patterns that demanded immediate medical investigation. What Dr. Morrison discovered during her analysis defied everything medical history documented about plastic surgery capabilities in 1895, according to her confidential report to the hospital director, dated March 8, 1963. Enhanced analysis of the 1895 Whitmore photographs reveals facial reconstruction techniques that should not have been medically possible for another 50 years. Most disturbing is evidence of full-face transplantation procedures involving tissue grafting from multiple donor sources. The breakthrough in Dr. Morrison's analysis came when she applied modern photographic enhancement to examine the surgical scarring patterns visible in the portraits. According to her notes, systematic examination using magnification technology reveals that each Whitmore family member demonstrates complete facial reconstruction involving transplantation of skin, muscle, and possibly bone tissue from external sources. The surgical precision and tissue integration success rates exceed anything documented in medical literature until the mid-20th century. Dr. Morrison's detailed analysis revealed that the surgical modifications appeared to follow systematic patterns designed to create facial uniformity across all family members, according to her technical report. The Whitmore faces demonstrate deliberate reconstruction to achieve matching facial proportions, suggesting coordinated surgical procedures designed to create artificial family resemblance. Most significant is evidence that the facial tissues were harvested from living donors rather than cadaveric sources, based on cellular vitality visible in photographic analysis. This was just the beginning of what would become the most disturbing medical investigation in Massachusetts hospital history. Dr. Morrison's enhanced analysis revealed that each family member's reconstructed face appeared to incorporate tissues from multiple different individuals. According to her measurements, individual faces demonstrated skin tone variations, tissue texture inconsistencies, and cellular characteristics that suggested assembly from at least 3 to 5 separate biological sources per person. According to Dr. Morrison's technical analysis, each Whitmore family member's face appears to be a composite construction incorporating tissues harvested from multiple donors. The surgical technique involves precise excision of facial components, sections of forehead, cheek regions, jaw areas, periorbital tissues, and systematic grafting to recipient faces in patterns that create artificial uniformity. Most disturbing is the apparent source selection. The donor tissues demonstrate age and gender characteristics inconsistent with voluntary medical donation. The investigation took a more troubling turn when Dr. Morrison attempted to trace the medical history of the Whitmore family. According to Massachusetts medical licensing records, the family had been under exclusive care of Dr. Marcus Thorne since 1889, a physician whose practice appeared to specialize in what his records described as advanced facial reconstruction protocols for disfigurement correction. According to hospital records from Massachusetts General Hospital, all 6 Whitmore family members had been admitted for what official documentation described as severe facial disfigurement resulting from industrial accident in August 1889. Dr. Thorne's patient files, discovered in the hospital archives, documented injuries that required immediate and extensive surgical intervention. Even more disturbing was Dr. Morrison's discovery that the nature of the industrial accident was never clearly documented in medical records. According to Dr. Thorne's admission notes, the Whitmore family presents with catastrophic facial injuries of uniform severity affecting all 6 members. The consistency of injury patterns across multiple individuals suggests exposure to industrial chemical agents of extraordinary corrosive capability. Standard reconstructive techniques will be insufficient. Complete facial reconstruction will be required. Dr. Thorne's research documentation revealed that he had been conducting experimental facial transplantation procedures since the early 1880s, developing techniques that would not become medically accepted until decades later. According to his confidential research notes, successful facial reconstruction following catastrophic disfigurement requires complete tissue replacement using grafts harvested from living donors. The technique involves systematic excision of damaged facial tissues followed by precise transplantation of donor materials selected for optimal integration and aesthetic outcome. But Dr. Thorne's medical research revealed even more troubling implications about his donor tissue sources. According to his detailed documentation, optimal facial reconstruction outcomes require living donor tissues harvested from individuals demonstrating specific biological characteristics. Most significant is the requirement for conscious donors who can be systematically evaluated for tissue compatibility and aesthetic suitability before harvest procedures. The investigation deepened when Dr. Morrison examined records documenting Dr. Thorne's donor acquisition procedures. According to correspondence discovered in Massachusetts General Hospital archives, Dr. Thorne had established systematic relationships with multiple institutions that provided access to populations suitable for tissue harvest. Dr. Morrison's analysis revealed that Dr. Thorne had maintained formal agreements with state mental asylums, poorhouses, and immigrant processing facilities, institutions housing vulnerable populations with limited legal protections. According to his correspondence, institutional partnerships provide systematic access to donor populations whose biological tissues can be harvested with minimal legal complications. Most suitable are individuals whose absence from society would generate limited inquiry. But the institutional records reveal disturbing evidence of systematic disappearances corresponding to Dr. Thorne's facial reconstruction procedures. According to asylum admission logs, at least 47 patients documented as residents of Massachusetts mental institutions between 1889 and 1895 vanished from records without discharge documentation, death certificates, or transfer papers. The investigation took an even more alarming turn when Dr. Morrison discovered that the disappeared individuals' physical descriptions matched the tissue characteristics visible in the Whitmore family faces. According to her comparative analysis, systematic correlation between missing asylum patients and Whitmore facial tissues reveals matches in age, gender, ethnic origin, and physical characteristics that suggest the disappeared individuals served as unwilling donors for the Whitmore reconstruction procedures. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that Dr. Thorne's facial reconstruction techniques involved not merely transplanting skin, but complete facial component transfer, including muscle, nerve, and bone structures. According to his surgical documentation, advanced reconstruction requires systematic harvest of complete facial units from donors, including not only surface tissues, but underlying structural components that determine expression capability and feature mobility. But what Dr. Morrison found most disturbing was evidence that Dr. Thorne's procedures preserved not only physical facial characteristics, but also aspects of donor neural tissue that appeared to transfer behavioral traits. According to post-operative notes, Whitmore family members report experiencing involuntary facial expressions, emotional responses, and behavioral tendencies that they describe as foreign to their nature, suggesting that transplanted facial tissues may retain neural programming from original donors. According to testimony from estate staff interviewed by Dr. Morrison, the Whitmore family demonstrated progressively disturbing behavioral changes following their facial reconstruction. Mrs. Eleanor Fletcher, who served as household manager from 1890 to 1896, provided statement that proved deeply troubling. After their return from the hospital, the family members began exhibiting expressions and mannerisms that seemed inconsistent with their personalities. Mr. Edward would smile with a lopsided grin he had never displayed before the accident. Miss Catherine developed facial tics and expression patterns that seemed to belong to someone else entirely. The investigation deepened when Dr. Morrison discovered correspondence between Dr. Thorne and researchers at European medical institutions describing what they termed neural memory transfer, the apparent preservation of donor consciousness within transplanted tissues. According to a research paper by Dr. Wilhelm Hartmann of Vienna Medical University, shared with Dr. Butt Thorne in 1887, facial tissues demonstrate remarkable retention of neural pathways that encode expression patterns, emotional responses, and potentially aspects of donor consciousness. Recipients of facial transplants consistently report experiencing emotions and impulses that appear to originate from donor personalities rather than their own psychological patterns. Dr. Morrison's investigation into the Whitmore facial reconstructions led her to examine the long-term psychological consequences documented in family records. According to estate papers and medical evaluations spanning 1895 to 1920, all 6 Whitmore family members experienced progressive personality dissolution, accompanied by emergence of characteristics that appeared to originate from their tissue donors. According to psychiatric evaluations preserved in Massachusetts General Hospital archives, the Whitmores progressively lost their original identities as donor personalities manifested through the transplanted facial tissues. Dr. Edmund Pierce, who provided psychiatric care to the family from 1900 to 1918, documented the Whitmore family members report increasing difficulty maintaining their original personalities against intrusive thoughts, emotions, and behavioral impulses that appear to emanate from their reconstructed faces. Most disturbing is their description of experiencing multiple competing consciousnesses simultaneously, their own minds trapped behind faces that seem to possess independent awareness. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that the personality dissolution appeared to accelerate over time, with donor consciousness progressively dominating recipient minds. According to Dr. Pierce's notes, by 1905, family members report that they no longer recognize their own thoughts as distinct from donor impulses. They describe existing as passive observers within bodies controlled by personalities that entered through transplanted facial tissues. But the psychiatric documentation revealed even more disturbing implications. According to evaluations, the Whitmores report that their transplanted faces sometimes speak independently of their conscious intentions, producing words and expressions they did not choose to make. Most troubling are instances where family members demonstrate knowledge of events and circumstances they could not have experienced. Information that appears to originate from donor memories preserved in transplanted neural tissues. The investigation took an even more alarming turn when Dr. Morrison discovered that Dr. Thorne had been systematically studying neural memory transfer as part of classified research programs funded by federal agencies. According to documents discovered in War Department archives, military researchers had been investigating facial transplantation as potential technology for creating deep cover intelligence operatives who could assume complete physical identity of other individuals. According to a classified memorandum from the War Department's Special Research Division, dated November 12, 1890, facial transplantation technology offers unprecedented capabilities for intelligence operations requiring complete identity assumption. Operatives receiving facial tissues from target individuals could achieve physical transformation that exceeds conventional disguise capabilities. Most significant is the apparent transfer of neural memory, which could provide operatives with authentic knowledge and behavioral patterns of individuals whose identities they assume. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that the Whitmore family had been recruited as experimental subjects for military facial transplantation research. According to classified correspondence, the Whitmore family's 1889 disfigurement, while documented as industrial accident, was artificially induced to create subjects requiring complete facial reconstruction suitable for testing advanced transplantation protocols under controlled circumstances. The documents revealed that the Whitmore accident had been deliberately orchestrated by federal agents working in cooperation with Dr. Thorne. According to classified operations reports, chemical agents were systematically introduced into the Whitmore textile manufacturing facility to produce controlled facial disfigurement affecting all family members simultaneously. The coordinated timing ensured that subjects would require immediate surgical intervention, creating optimal conditions for testing military transplantation protocols. But the military research revealed objectives that extended far beyond simple identity assumption. According to classified research proposals, complete facial transplantation with neural memory transfer could produce intelligence operatives who possess not only physical appearance, but actual consciousness of individuals whose identities they assume. This would create the ultimate deep cover capability, agents who are not merely disguised as target individuals, but who actually become those individuals through biological consciousness displacement. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that federal research into facial transplantation had produced disturbing results that exceeded initial expectations. According to classified medical reports, experimental subjects receiving complete facial transplants demonstrate progressive displacement of original consciousness by donor personalities, suggesting that neural memory transfer is not merely supplementary, but can achieve complete identity replacement. The classified research documented that facial transplant recipients experienced what researchers described as biological consciousness invasion, systematic displacement of original personality by donor consciousness transferred through transplanted neural tissues. According to research documentation, recipients report progressive loss of original identity accompanied by emergence of donor consciousness that increasingly dominates cognitive function. The process appears irreversible, suggesting that facial transplantation constitutes actual consciousness replacement rather than mere physical modification. The most alarming discovery came when Dr. Morrison learned that the military had successfully created intelligence operatives through complete facial transplantation, combined with systematic cultivation of donor consciousness dominance. According to classified operational reports, operatives receiving facial tissues from deceased intelligence assets demonstrate progressive acquisition of donor knowledge, behavioral patterns, and operational capabilities. This creates intelligence personnel who possess accumulated experience of multiple previous operatives, forming permanent intelligence lineages that transcend individual human lifespans. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that the Whitmore family members had been systematically monitored to document the complete displacement of their original identities. According to classified surveillance reports spanning 1895 to 1920, all 6 Whitmore subjects demonstrated complete personality dissolution by 1912, with original consciousness entirely displaced by composite donor personalities. The subjects no longer identify as the Whitmore family, but have assumed multiple identities corresponding to their various tissue donors. But the consciousness displacement revealed disturbing consequences that military researchers had not anticipated. According to classified reports, complete donor consciousness dominance appears to create subjects who exist as collections of multiple personalities, with different facial regions expressing different donor consciousnesses simultaneously. Most troubling is evidence of conflict between competing donor personalities occupying single bodies. The investigation took its most disturbing turn when Dr. Morrison discovered evidence that similar facial transplantation programs had been systematically implemented throughout American intelligence and military establishments since the 1890s. According to classified documents, facial transplantation with neural memory transfer has become standard procedure for creating deep cover operatives who assume identities of deceased or captured enemy agents. The technology allows continuous replacement of intelligence personnel while maintaining operational continuity through transferred donor consciousness. Dr. Morrison's investigation revealed that by 1960, federal agencies had created what classified documents described as consciousness lineages, intelligence operatives whose faces and personalities had been systematically transferred through multiple bodies over decades, creating permanent intelligence assets whose accumulated experience spanned generations. According to classified assessments, consciousness lineages provide intelligence capabilities that exceed conventional human lifespans, with operative knowledge and experience preserved through systematic facial transplantation across sequential recipient bodies. The investigation reached its final alarming phase when Dr. Morrison discovered that her own research had attracted attention from federal agencies responsible for maintaining security around facial transplantation programs. According to documents obtained through subsequent requests, her investigation had been monitored since she began analyzing the Whitmore photographs. According to a classified memorandum from the Central Intelligence Agency, dated April 15, 1963, Dr. Patricia Morrison's investigation into historical facial reconstruction has identified classified consciousness transfer programs that require immediate intervention, recommend termination of her research access, and implementation of standard security protocols to prevent further disclosure of facial transplantation operations. Dr. Morrison's investigation was officially terminated in June 1963, when she received orders from hospital administration to close her research and transfer all materials to undisclosed federal authorities. According to her final report, investigation into historical reconstructive surgery has revealed evidence of ongoing federal programs that exceed hospital research jurisdiction. All materials have been transferred to appropriate agencies. However, Dr. Morrison's private papers, discovered after her death in 1989, reveal that she continued investigating facial transplantation programs unofficially for the remainder of her career. According to her notes, she documented at least 200 individuals who demonstrated facial characteristics consistent with transplantation procedures and personality traits suggesting donor consciousness displacement. Dr. Morrison's continued research revealed that facial transplantation with consciousness transfer had expanded throughout American society since the 1890s, creating what she described as distributed identity networks, populations of individuals whose original consciousness had been systematically displaced by donor personalities transferred through facial tissues. According to her analysis, the expansion of facial transplantation programs suggests that significant portions of American population may consist of individuals whose original identities have been replaced through biological consciousness transfer. Most disturbing was Dr. Morrison's discovery that consciousness transfer appeared to be self-propagating, with individuals who received transplanted tissues developing compulsions to harvest facial tissues from others. According to her private notes, transplant recipients report uncontrollable urges to acquire additional facial tissues, suggesting that donor consciousness actively seeks to expand its presence through systematic displacement of additional individuals. This creates potential for exponential spread of consciousness transfer throughout populations. Dr. Morrison's final assessment, found in her private papers, provided a warning that remains chillingly relevant. The 1895 Whitmore photographs document evidence of facial transplantation programs that transformed 6 individuals into composite beings whose faces were literally borrowed from dozens of unwilling donors. What began as experimental surgery has evolved into systematic consciousness replacement that may have displaced thousands of original human identities with donor personalities that continue seeking new faces to occupy. The Whitmore family photographs remain in federal archives, classified at levels that prevent public access. According to sources within federal agencies, the photographs continue to provide researchers with baseline documentation of consciousness transfer capabilities that have applications for modern intelligence operations. Current federal programs utilizing facial transplantation continue to build upon techniques developed through the Whitmore experiments and subsequent refinements spanning more than a century. According to confidential sources, contemporary intelligence operations utilize facial transplantation combined with neural memory transfer to create operatives who literally become the individuals they replace, providing perfect cover that cannot be penetrated by any conventional counterintelligence methods. Today, individuals descended from or associated with the Whitmore family continue to demonstrate characteristics consistent with consciousness displacement. According to investigative sources, the borrowed faces that created the Whitmore family in 1895 have been systematically transferred through multiple generations, creating intelligence lineages whose original identities were displaced more than a century ago but continue operating through bodies that have been progressively replaced while maintaining continuous donor consciousness. The mystery of the Whitmore family remains classified more than a century after Ashford captured their borrowed faces. Despite decades of investigation, federal authorities continue to restrict access to information about facial transplantation programs that may have systematically displaced thousands of original human identities. According to current intelligence assessments, the Whitmore case represents evidence that human consciousness can be physically transferred between bodies through facial tissue transplantation. The borrowed faces visible in 1895 photographs, the systematic federal research, and ongoing classification suggest implementation of programs that continue to operate throughout American society. Most disturbing is the possibility that you may have already encountered individuals whose faces were borrowed, people whose original consciousness was displaced decades ago by donor personalities that continue seeking new faces to occupy. The person you see may not be the person who inhabits that body. The face may be borrowed, the consciousness transferred, the original identity erased and replaced by something that came from somewhere else, someone else, and now looks through those eyes seeking its next face to claim. The Whitmore household of 1895 showed us that every face was borrowed. The question that remains classified is, how many faces around you today are borrowed as well?